Loser. Chapter 18. Best Friend. It isn't a schoolwork test. There's been nothing to study for. There has been no warning. One day in 5th grade, the teacher, Mrs. Schenkfelder, simply passes out booklets with blue covers. Barry Peterson says, "Is this a test?" She says no, and she calls in some big word, but Zinkoff looks at it and sees that there are questions and little egg spaces to fill in for answers. It's a test. Every other school test Zinkoff has ever taken has been about some classroom subject: arithmetic, geography, spelling. This test seems to be about himself. What does he think about this? Why does he do that? Which of these ones does he prefer? Halfway through, Zinkoff has to admit this is the first test he has ever taken that is almost fun. It's one more thing this year that makes him feel grown up. Most of the answers come easily to him, until on the next to last page he arrives at a question that stumps him. Who is your best friend? And like most of the other questions, this one isn't multiple choice, no little eggs to fill in, just a blank line that needs a name. If he had this test back in 2nd grade, he would have filled in Andrew Orwell's name, but Andrew, his neighbor, has long since moved, and no obvious replacement comes to mind. Oh, sure, Zinkoff has friends. There's Bucky Monostra, who he plays marbles with, and Peter Grillot, the second floppiest kid in class, and Katie Swelson, who smiles at him every time she sees him. Friends all, but not best friends. He knows what a best friend is. He sees them all over. Best friends are Bert O'Neill and George Underkoffler, or Ellen Dabney and Ronnie Joe Thomas. Best friends are always together, always whispering and laughing and running, always at each other's house, always having dinner, sleeping over. They are practically adopted by each other's parents. You can't pry them apart. Zinkoff doesn't have anybody like that. Most of the time he doesn't think about it, but now and then he does. He wonders what it would be like to be so stuck to another kid that you could walk into his kitchen and his mother wouldn't even look up because she's that used to you, and she would say, "Wash your hands and sit down, you're late for dinner." It seems kind of neat thinking of it that way, and sometimes he regrets he doesn't have a best friend. But then he usually thinks about his own mother and his father and Polly, and thinks about the 900 block of Willow, and he figures he's doing okay. Until he comes to this question: who is your best friend? And that blank space seems to be saying to him, if you don't have one, you'd better get one. He skips over the question to finish the rest of the test. He returns to it. Time is passing. Pretty soon, Mrs. Schenkfelder will say, "Pencils up." Best friend, best friend. "One more minute," says Mrs. Schenkfelder, who does not usually give a warning. He panics. He looks around the classroom. Too bad if the teacher thinks he's cheating. His eye settles on Hector Binns, way up in the first row. Hector's head is down, his shoulders hunched. He's working away on the test. Hector Binns has been in Zinkoff's class since 1st grade, so of course Zinkoff knows who he is. Over the years they have found themselves at the same water fountain or monkey bar rung, but Hector Binns, being a B, has always sat far from Zinkoff, and Zinkoff's information about him is spotty at best. This is the sum of what he knows. Hector Binns wears glasses. He is about Zinkoff's height. He loves black licorice, and he's always cleaning out his ear with a paperclip. And now that he thinks of it, there's one more thing. As far as Zinkoff knows, Hector Binns is available. He has no best friend either. Pencils up. Quickly, he fills in the blank, misspelling both first and last name, Hector Binns. He can hardly wait for recess. He finds Hector Binns by the bicycle rack, working on his ear with a paperclip. "Hi, Hector," he says. "What's up?" "Huh?" replies Hector Binns. Zinkoff repeats, "What's up?" But Hector doesn't seem to hear. Maybe his hearing goes bad when the paperclip is in his ear. Otherwise, he doesn't seem unfriendly. So Zinkoff just stands there. Binns goes at his ear with a gusto that Zinkoff has never noticed before. He digs and scrapes, wincing in pain or pleasure. Zinkoff can't tell which. He pulls out the paperclip and examines it. To Zinkoff's eye, it's clean. Binns plunges it into the other ear, digs, scrapes, wince. This time the clip comes out with a tiny, waxy, orangish crumb clinging to the end of it. Binns pulls from his pants pocket a small brown plastic bottle, the kind that pills come in. He brings the bottle to his mouth for an instant. Zinkoff thinks he's going to eat it, but he simply pulls off the white flip-top cap with his teeth. He taps the paperclip on the rim of the bottle, and in falls the waxy crumb. Zinkoff notices that the bottle is half full. Binns returns the bottle and paperclip to his pocket. Only then does Ben seem to notice he's not alone. The obvious question crawls to the front of Zinkoff's tongue, but somehow he holds it back. So, he says, who did you answer for your best friend? Binns pulls out a pack of black licorice sticks from another pocket. He rips off half a stick and begins to chew. Nobody, he says. Really, says Zinkoff, you left it blank? Can you do that? Ben shakes his head. Except for the first moment, his eyes never meet Zinkoff's. He always seems to be looking into the beyond. I wrote nobody. The word nobody. Oh, says Zinkoff, nodding, thinking he understands. Nobody. Okay. Ben stuffs the rest of the stick into his mouth and returns the pack to his pocket. Nobody is my lizard. Zinkoff stares at the eyes that stare at the beyond. Suddenly he gets it. Oh, you have a lizard named Nobody. Binns blinks, which Zinkoff takes for a nod. And you put him down as your best friend. Another blink. Okay, I got it. Hector Binns collects earwax and has a lizard named Nobody, who he calls his best friend. Zinkoff figures his choice is looking better by the minute. Know who I put down, he says. No, says Binns. You, says Zinkoff. Binns blinks. His eyes disconnect from the beyond and slide over Zinkoff's face. Huh? He says. Zinkoff grins. Yeah, I put your name down. Binns' eyelids flap as if they're trying to take off. Me? Why? Because I had to put somebody's name down and I thought of you. But I'm not your best friend. I know, and I'm not yours either. But I thought maybe we could be. I mean, since I wrote your name down and all. Hector Binns isn't answering. His eyes have gone back to the beyond. Zinkoff doesn't know the word negotiation, but that's what this is. He tries to think of something he can offer. Something to sweeten the pot. I make a mean snickerdoodle cookie, he blurts. Binns' left cheek bulges out as he chews on his licorice wad. When his teeth appear, they're outlined in black, as if cartoon-drawn. As a fifth grader, Zinkoff knows cool when he sees it. He takes a stab at cool himself. He shuffles his feet. He hooks his thumbs into his waistband. He gazes off into a beyond of his own. So, he says, tossing in a shrug, what do you think? Making it sound like, not that I care one way or the other. Ben sniffs. He turns his head until he's looking down over his right shoulder. His lips slide to the side of his face. The far corner of his mouth opens like a little eye and comes out a black dollop of licorice juice. It falls to the ground. At last he speaks and answers Zinkoff's held-back question. What I think is, when I get enough earwax, I'm going to make a candle. Wow, an earwax candle! Zinkoff is willing to bet that Binns has not shared this blockbuster information with anyone else in class. The end of the recess bell rings. The two of them trot side by side to the door. See you after school, says Zinkoff. Binns says, I guess. Okay, that's the end of chapter 18. You're going to read chapter 19 on your own. Make sure that you're working on your slideshow and then come back here for chapter 20.